Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Aaron Trevino here. We have another wonderful guest. We have Attirah from Fort Worth. How you doing, Attirah?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I can't complain. It's been a good morning, and I know we've had this in the works, so it's a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, it's definitely good to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely, Attirah. So for those of us who aren't familiar with you, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, so again, I live in the Fort Worth area. My name is Satira. Just kind of backtracking a little bit. I played basketball pretty much all my life. I went up to the D1 level and I got to play overseas a little bit. And during that time, I was doing a lot of spending and stuff like that. And I didn't realize how to really manage my money properly. And that's kind of what brought me to my credit repair business. Well, my financial education business. And that is because not a lot of people, especially athletes, well, basketball athletes in my case, don't know how to manage their money, especially overseas, because there's a lot of money coming in. You're living for free, you get free food, you get a lot of everything for free, but you just don't really get free money management skills. And I feel like that's why I went into this area of work, is because I want to inform my fellow athletes how to take care of their money and what they should be doing with their money, how they should be able to manage their credit to leverage for other things. Like maybe they want to start out with a coaching business, or a training business. Maybe I can show them the ropes and help them build from there. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a needed service, and it almost kind of reminds me of people who win the lottery. Maybe you don't have as much before, and then all of a sudden, you have all these opportunities and all these new temptations and more money, and they don't know how to manage it.
Exactly. And that's where I feel like I can come in and kind of show people, or prove to people, like, just because you play basketball doesn't mean you can just spend whatever you want on your funds and stuff like that. So
Yeah, absolutely. I guess backtracking a bit, I'm interested in you. Where did you grow up?
I grew up a little bit halfway in Chicago, and then when I was about 12, I moved to Arizona. So I did somewhat most of my growing up in Arizona, finding myself out there. We moved around kind of a lot. I've lived in quite a few different states. So yeah, just moving around wasn't that much of a big deal for me, but it's been a great experience.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure it gives you some perspectives on different markets and different nuances in parts of the country.
Yeah, it really does. Especially being able to travel overseas and stuff definitely gave me different perspectives of the world too. So
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm assuming, was that your only sport you did, or that was your main love? What was basketball?
yeah, basketball. I've been
Yeah.
playing it since I was about 5, so that's a little bit over 20 years. So yeah, I'm pretty dedicated to the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you played basketball, I'm sure, a bit in the Chicago area, Arizona, and then I'm assuming you played high school, and you mentioned you also played D1 too.
Yeah, I played D1 at University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. It's a smaller HBCU. It was a great experience. That's where I really felt like I can take my career to the next level, and I was able to do that. So
Yeah, I'm curious. I personally don't know much about that school. What was special about it?
um, well, in my experience, I kind of like small niche kind of areas. I don't like, the big giant city type areas. That I don't really do well in those kind of environments. But I really did like the smaller school environment, because it was more of a one-on-one thing with teachers and with your other peers and stuff like that. And you got to know people more around campus that way. And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes a lot of self-awareness to kind of understand, hey, the big city is not really my vibe, and a lot of
Yeah,
people flourish in those smaller areas.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you were there at that university, and you enjoyed your time there. And then what was it that made you want to go overseas?
It's kind of been a goal for me since I was young. As soon as I heard that you can play basketball in different countries for money, like I was on board from day one. Like that didn't stop me. Like nothing was able to stop me to achieve that goal. And I was able to play for almost 3 years in three different countries, Malta, El Salvador, and Australia. So that was really amazing.
Wow, that to me, those are three completely different places, right?
I loved it all though.
Yeah, so and what position did you play?
The power forward,
Power
four,
forward. Okay.
bit of the five because I was always tall. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious, how tall are you?
6'1".
6'1".
Yes.
Absolutely. Power forward, 6'1", been all over the world. And I'm curious, what are kind of those countries like? Malta, El Salvador, Australia, you said?
Um, Malta, it kind of reminds you a little bit of Italy. I mean, I've never been, but you see pictures of the kind of houses and homes that are out there and like the waterfront areas and stuff like that. And I found that to be pretty similar to that area. They have a lot of like beautiful landmarks and places to go hiking and adventuring. That's what I really liked about that country. El Salvador, it being a third world country, it was actually really beautiful. The scenery, the nature, all the volcanoes that they had out there were just something that you cannot forget at all. And the people there, they were great. They were so nice to me and my other teammate, my American teammate, and we both really enjoyed it out there. Australia, I'll have to say it's kind of like America, but bumped up a couple notches. It's a little bit nicer out there. The beaches, so there are so many beaches you can go visit. Like I can't even count on my hands how many times I went to the beach. um it's really beautiful out in Australia. I recommend that place to anyone. So
Yeah, I'm curious, what city in Australia was it?
I was in Lake Warren. I'm sure not a lot of people have heard of that unless you're from Australia, but I was close to the Melbourne area. It was about 45 to an hour away.
Okay, wonderful. Now, I'm
Mhm.
curious as well. Is there, when you think of playing basketball overseas, I'm assuming, would you say most of the team is native? Is there a ratio of foreigners to nationals, or how does that work?
Okay, the ratio is not fair at all whatsoever. Usually, if it's a pretty good team, you might have about two American players. So if I'm playing in Australia, there would rather be two American players on the team and then the rest all Australian. So there wasn't really a diversity of mix of cultures there, but that's what you expect when you play overseas. You kind of go out there into a foreign, everything, and kind of adapt and do what you have to do to win. So
Yeah, no, you brought up a great word is adapting and kind of that adaptability that it seems like you can transfer to different parts of your life, being immersed in a new culture, a new language in El Salvador, right? And kind of mixing with other people.
yeah, yeah. I love, especially in El Salvador, because I personally love the Spanish culture. I'm trying to be fluent in Spanish, so I know a little bit. And it's just amazing being somewhere where you don't know anything about and just like kind of picking up slowly on their native ways and how they do things and even their language too. Just I loved it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure it's a transition, adjusting to a new life, maybe, whether it's playing offense, playing defense, learning your own neighborhood, right? It's all different.
exactly.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can kind of transfer that into what you're doing now. I'm just curious as well. You kind of talked about the financial education. You talked about offering that service to people, who have played basketball overseas. Why do you think maybe that financial education is lacking for some people?
Um, I believe that is lacking in some people because a lot of people want fast money. And sometimes when people want fast money, they kind of bypass all the rules and, regulations that you have to go through to maintain that lump sum of money that you're going to get. And like again with basketball players, they're getting money every month. They really don't have anything to spend it on, but outside activities, fun things, maybe repairing their body. But I feel like athletes should also know that you can invest your money and come back home with even more money than what you came into that foreign country. And it's just knowing about your finances helps with the longevity of your bank accounts and even the fun that you want to have in life. Like, yeah, you can have as much fun as you want now, but if you're not putting in any of the work to understand your finances and even your credit, you might not make it far and your money might just disappear like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said on that one. And I'm
Mhm.
curious as well, you mentioned playing in three different countries, Malta, El Salvador, Australia, three countries that all use different currencies. I'm curious
Yeah.
as well, did you get paid in US dollars or the local currency?
Um, in Australia, I mean, not Australia, in Malta, I definitely got paid the local currency. I think it was in euros. So I had to convert that. I had to learn how to convert my money and how much I would be taken over back into America. El Salvador, they use American dollars. So that wasn't an issue. In Australia, I got paid the AUD, the Australian dollar. So also I had to convert that one. And when I was in Australia, converting that money kind of set off a light bulb in my head. Like, Australian money is worth a little bit more than the US dollar. So I was coming back with less money than what I made in Australia, technically, visually. And that kind of threw me off. And I wanted to learn more about like why that happened and what I can do to come back with even more money. And that's what brought me into like training kids with basketball. And then, kind of leading over into the finances part of things too. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it kind of gave you a crash course in maybe economics, maybe exchange rates, and then kind
Yeah.
of developing your own plan.
Right. It did. It really did. I mean, that stuff, it seems kind of overwhelming at first because you almost literally know nothing. But then when you just kind of dive into it, go on YouTube University, maybe find friends who are maybe a little wealthier than you, who are willing to kind of give you a little bit of advice, or even if you have Facebook followers or Instagram followers that seem wealthy or know what they're talking about with money, I would even kind of reach out to them and ask them, not full on advice about your personal life, but tips and tricks here to build wealth and maybe build some residual income or passive income, whatever it may be.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of sounds like, just asking those good questions and, taking it one step at a time.
Right. Yeah. You don't need to rush with it. Yeah, quick money is good, but also slow money can win the game too, because once that starts building over the years, like your eyes are gonna pop out of your head.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm curious as well, maybe with some of your teammates, I guess it was a bit different because you were a foreigner, right? Most of them were, I guess, were natives. But,
Mhm.
what were their kind of financial outlooks? Did they have any sort of strategy at all? Or were you one of the few that was concerned with finances?
Um, I wouldn't say they weren't concerned really with their finances, but I did notice that some people didn't have a full grasp of how to control their finances because there'd be um I'm definitely not throwing shade on anyone, obviously, but there's, people do frivolous spending on certain activities and things I would notice. And I'm just like, you might be better off saving that money because you were just talking about last week how you didn't have enough to buy the amount of groceries that you needed or almost didn't have enough to pay your bills. And, you know, just America isn't the only country that struggles with financial issues. Like it's a worldwide thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Just having that, I guess, that perspective and that education as well. Maybe someone is starting out, maybe they're overseas, they want to make a plan, they're coming back from overseas, or maybe they're just someone who's wanting to sort themselves out financially. Where do you suggest that we start?
Starting out as far as like organizing their finances and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. So I know that talk about credit, kind of helping people navigate the financial world. What sort of advice would you give someone, starting out, or what do you think they should know?
Well, I mean, as far as credit goes, I feel like everyone should know about credit. That's kind of a leveraging tool that you can use to buy bigger items that you want, like a house or car, or even get a loan and stuff like that. And with credit is I don't think people understand like the full breakdown of how your credit score is even calculated, because knowing just that can help you either maintain your high score or boost your score even higher. So I know 35% of your credit score is your payment history, how often you're paying your bills on time, like any bills, your rent payments, your car payments, paying back that loan. Like you want to pay those back on time every month. And if you do have troubles paying that on time, I would probably talk to your credit card issuer or the person who issued the loan. Maybe you can change the date or set the date back maybe a couple extra days or so, something like that. But you just don't want to get behind on paying any kind of bills, because that'll definitely lower your score. 30% of your score is your utilization rate, which is basically so let's say you have a credit card with $1,000 on it, and that's your credit limit. Your credit utilization would be how much you spend in comparison to that total credit limit. So with that 1,000 credit card, you want to keep your credit utilization for good showing for banks and lenders of that sort under 30%. And keeping that under 30% shows banks and lenders that you know how to manage your money, and that you're not just using your credit cards on your full lifestyle. Like you just want to use it here and there for certain things to get you by, not just to fund your entire lifestyle, you know? The next part of your credit is your length of your credit history, which is about 15%. And so that's basically how long you've had a credit line open. So let's say you have student loan debt, all right, and you're thinking about trying to pay it off in full. You came into a lump sum and you want to pay it off in full. And might not recommend paying your student loan debt off in full, because again, 15% of your credit is based off how long you have a line of credit open. So you don't want to get rid of that line of credit right away, because that can lower your credit score, if that makes sense. The next part of your credit is your credit mix, which is a mix of either revolving credit, so like a credit card, or an installment, which is like maybe a loan that you have that you need to pay off on a set date every month. All right. The next thing is a good 10% of your credit is based off a new credit. Okay. So if you're building, you don't want to keep applying for a bunch of credit cards. So I would probably recommend maybe applying, if you're new, maybe every 4 to 6 months, you can apply for a credit card. But other than that, so you got the 35% for your payment history, 30 for your credit utilization, 15 for the length of credit, 10% for your credit mix, which is the revolving and the installment, and then another 10%, which makes up of your new credit. So yeah, once you get a better understanding of how that works, then you'll know how to build your credit or maintain that high score.
Yeah, no, that's definitely some great insight into it. Credit's interesting because credit's kind of one of those maybe dark topics. It's kind of ambiguous. People look at it and see it's some weird number, but the way you broke it down was great.
Yeah, and what a lot of people don't know is that when you have a higher credit score, your interest rates on certain things are a lot higher. So like when you want to get a home and you kind of calculate things, how much your monthly payment is and whatnot, and then you go apply, but then you realize like your interest rate is super high, so you're paying more every month. Like that's not something that you want to do. So you want to not a high credit score, I'm sorry, a low credit score. When you have a low credit score, you have high interest rates. So you really want to work on building that score, especially if I think it's below maybe a 620 or 640. You really want to work on getting that above, closer to a 700 when you're trying to buy something like a home or a car.
Yeah, absolutely. You broke it down well, just talking about kind of that credit worthiness. The higher credit score you have, maybe the more flexible, your lender can be.
Right. Exactly. And again, just right. Like if you want to go into a bank right today and you have a 540 credit score, they're going to be more reluctant to even give you that. They're going to dig more into your files, look at more of your history and stuff. And like, you just don't want to have to go through such a tedious process to get the money that you need.
Sure, absolutely. And I'm curious as well, what about someone who maybe, maybe they have strictly used debit cards, maybe they've never even touched a credit card in their life? How can we kind of safely use credit cards to be able to build ourselves?
So if you're just starting out and you don't have any forms of credit, I would attempt to apply for a credit card if you are looking to build your credit. And if you can't get a regular credit card, I would recommend probably getting a secured card. And that's a secured card is almost the same as a credit card, but you just have to put a down payment, someone like a down payment on the secured card that will match your limit of that card. And those are a great way to help build your credit. And secured cards also, like, they don't really allow you to go over the limit that you spend. So it's kind of hard to do that because that's the money that you're putting in on that card. So you don't overspend on that one, if that makes sense. But also some other things that you can do if you don't really have any credit, but maybe you're renting. There are numerous Credit My Rent services. I also provide one as well. And basically Credit My Rent is reporting your on-time payments to credit bureaus. All right. And that's something that not a lot of people know that they can do, because that is a form of on-time payment. Paying your rent on time is very, very important to keeping your score high or even boosting it. So Credit My Rent service might be a great way for people to build credit who are just starting out as well too. There's even I know in particular my service, we backtrack up to 2 years for Credit My Rent. So if you've been renting for 2 years, like, you can get all those on-time payments reported to. We report to Equifax and TransUnion. You can get those rent payments reported to there, and you'll be set. Either your score will boost up or it'll stay maintained.
Okay, absolutely. And could you also talk about, maybe those bureaus, what are TransUnion and Equifax?
I mean, those are 2 of the 3 credit bureaus we have: TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And those are basically just companies like any other business people start, that keep track of people paying their bills, see if people are keeping track of paying their bills on time and whatnot. I don't know. I'm not 100% informative on like exactly what they, how they work 100%. I'm still kind of new with the credit repair. So that's just something I'm still kind of learning about the credit bureaus. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great way to kind of, gauge where you're at, right? Because I guess the first step in doing anything is, assessing where you're starting from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you gave us some great advice, talking about maybe starting out, with the card and just making the payments. And it's also great to know about paying your rent on time.
Yeah. You don't want to miss payments on that, because again, like, that's kind of stuff, even if you don't have a Credit My Rent service, just like missing that payment can put a ding on your credit, or even show lenders that you're not reliable enough for them to lend you the money. Because if you're not paying anything on time, or sometimes, like, again, they're going to be reluctant to give you the money that you want or the interest rate deals that you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. And, you gave us a wonderful explanation kind of, what credit is and how it can help you. Could you kind of describe maybe the services you offer and, maybe what you can help your clients with?
Okay, yeah, sure. So I work with a financial credit educate. Scratch that. So I work with Financial Education Services, and we partner with United Credit Education Services. Kind of a tongue twister for me. I'm not sure why, but it's a nonprofit organization, and not only do we have 4 services pertaining to credit, we have 8 others that can help your financial future and help you kind of maintain your credit score too. So we offer a budgeting service that allows you to put in, any of your expenses, so you can know how much you're spending every month, how much is going out and whatnot. And we offer a credit restoration, which is, the credit restoring your credit part, maybe removing any negative items of any sort that you have, like foreclosures, collections, repossessions, some things of that nature. Then we have the Credit Builder app, which shows you how to build your credit. And we also have a section in there where it gives you tips and tricks to maintain your score, or if you're having troubles going through a bankruptcy, we have tips and tricks on that and whatnot. And then we offer a credit attorney. So if you're getting harassed by any debt collectors of that nature, we have a legal team included with our price that can help you with that 24/7. We also offer credit monitoring, and that's with our Smart Credit app that gives you real-time updates on your credit and how things are going. And even the Smart Credit even has a built-in assistant that'll show you the steps that you need to take to boost your score to the next level. We offer a debt payoff system. We have a financial lockbox, which is pretty much an online cloud where you can store all your finances, like maybe your birth certificate, your IDs and stuff. So you're not searching under the bed, searching through a bunch of piles of papers to, find important documents. Okay. And then we offer identity monitoring. Now I know not a lot of young people like me have identity monitoring because we don't think that people can just easily steal our money or, our ID. Like that can literally happen at any time. Somebody can be walking past you and have some type of weird scanner and scan your ID and have all your numbers and your bank account information. And you just never know when that kind of thing is going to happen. So it's always good to have identity protection. The next thing we offer, we have a net worth program. So a lot of people don't know their own net worth in comparison to what maybe Beyonce's net worth is or Jay-Z's net worth is. Like, I'm sure a ton of people know how much they're worth, but not a lot of people know how much they are worth. And I feel like that's very important when you want to build your finances. You're learning how much debt you have in comparison to how much you're making. All right. The next thing we do is we have a savings goal app, which you can track your savings goals. And we even have a section in there where you can click on to reminders to remind you to save money at this day on this time and stuff like that. So that's very, very, very helpful. I actually use that myself because I'm saving up for a birthday trip that's coming up at the end of April. So that's been really helpful for me. And I love the way it works. We also offer the will, trust, and PPO. And I know not a lot of people have that. Not a lot of people have the money to even get one or even modify their will and trust. And that's very important because I know for a fact that service alone costs like $5,000 itself, like almost $5,000. It's just insane what people charge just to fill out a piece of paper of what you want to leave for your legacy, And the last thing we offer is a YFL Mint program, which is for the which is a youth financial literacy program. And that brings our whole financial education platform back to the home. So even kids as young as 8 years old can learn about finances and credit. And so they're kind of in the loop growing up and not just, in the blue of just spending any kind of money as they grow up. And I feel like that's really where a lot of bad habits with their finances stem from, is because at a young age, you just think money grows on trees almost. You ask your parents for anything and everything. You just think you're supposed to get it sometimes. And that's not always the case. So that's why that program is very important. And with that program, we've also just this past last year have given away $600,000 in scholarships. And I want to say that's just like pretty amazing for a company who has been around for 15 plus years, debt free. They been able to give that much money away. And we are even projected to give even more than that this year. So that's even more amazing. So we offer all 12 of those services. And even when you get started, we even have a referral program. If you refer 5 people, you can get your services for free for as long as they're with the service. So that's pretty awesome too. So yeah, those are all the 12 services that we offer a one-time payment of $188 and then $89 a month after that with no contract attached. So I feel like you get a pretty good deal. Like if you look for those services individually on the internet, you'd be looking at a couple $1,000s alone just trying to get those even started. Like I said, with the will and trust, like that's a lot of money to get those even started. So
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely well said. And, it's a great, overview of what you do and services you can offer.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of this company because again, a friend of mine showed me this this process, well, right after I came overseas. So I was kind of in a slump because I knew I had to get surgery and I just didn't know kind of where my life was going to go. But a close family friend showed me this and it kind of changed my life because it showed me how to take control of my finances and kind of build a better future for myself. Because even though I did have a pretty extensive ankle surgery on my foot, that's why I had to stop playing. I still see a future for myself with basketball, and I kind of want to use this as a gateway to get me there with paying for my recovery and my travel, not travel expenses, but my training expenses and stuff like that. So I really believe that this is something that can help me in my future.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful to hear. And, sometimes regardless of who you are, everyone kind of needs a helping hand or a nudge in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. And if anybody is looking to, fix their financial problems or even boost their credit score or learn about credit. If you're just trying to learn about credit, you can always just hit me up. I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm not necessarily on Instagram just yet. I'm working on that, but like I'm here to just, even if you just have, if you need tips or some tricks to, boost your score or whatever, you can hit me up on those socials, or I have my number on there, my email, and I'd be willing to answer any questions that people have about their credit, because credit is something that can help you get to financial freedom if you know
Yeah,
how to work it.
yeah, absolutely. That's for a lot of people, that financial freedom, not only education but also the freedom is definitely the end goal, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like who doesn't want to be financially free, pretty much doing whatever they want, whenever they want?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, Atira. Well, is there anything you'd really like to hit home? Maybe if someone is overseas, they're an athlete, maybe they just came back, or maybe just someone who's looking to get started. What sort of advice would you have for them?
Honestly, YouTube University. That's really where I learned most of my stuff. That's how I got my foot in the water with a lot of things. I just did research on the ideas that I had, and that helped me out a lot. Like sometimes you just need to take action and go for it. Don't be scared. Scared money doesn't make money, obviously. But yeah, don't spend your money frivolously. That's something that could definitely get you in debt. And yeah, spending money now is nice, but in the future, when you're trying to like, buy a home or a car or something like that, like that's going to hurt you because you did all your money spending in your 20s or something like that. And now you don't have the right funds, or you don't have the right savings to buy those big purchases.
Yeah, yeah, there's definitely a lot to be said for that, and making a plan. Maybe someone's listening, maybe they're overseas, maybe they're here back at home in the U.S. and they want to get in touch with you. I know you mentioned you're on social media. Where can we find you?
Yeah, so on Facebook, it's just my name, Attirah, last name Munir, and that's the same thing for LinkedIn. You search on that, you should be able to find me. Not too difficult. If you are kind of shy from Messenger and stuff like that, you can email me. It's gain with T, just the letter T, at gmail.com. And I'd be happy to help.
Yeah, absolutely, it's here. Well, it's we've talked about a lot. We've talked about you growing up playing basketball, playing in college, overseas,
Yeah.
lessons learned overseas, and then you transitioning back to your credit services. And I've definitely learned a lot from what you said. And thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Talk later.
All right.